Good morning, everybody. This is Andrea filling in for Lenny's Daily Podcast. Today we have today's Thursday. Last night was the Happy Hour Social Club. In case you missed it, you can always find them on Twitch, or you can listen here on demand. You know, if you scroll down past the chat room, you could see all of the recent podcasts that's been going on. Good morning to everybody. Seems a little light in the chat room, but we have a great show planned for you today. We have some information that George Hubschman gave us. Now, I'm just going to wait for the sound to come through the chat room. That's how we do it here. And we like to wait so that we can include everybody from the chat room. So if you're listening on demand, you might want to fast forward it just a minute or so while we wait for the sound to come through. Leonard, how you doing today?
Doing good, kid. Doing really good.
Lenny just needed a day off because, as you know, I was at my mom's for about 10 days. So Lenny didn't get any days off. He filled in for me twice. So who am I to tell him no, I won't do the podcast today? So for those of you listening on demand, I'll tell you what we have in store. A couple of moves were made yesterday. A couple of signings. No big deal. But, you know, any signing is better than no signing. We also have some category targets, so I'm going to let the chat room know that they need to get their pens and pencils because we have targets for every category in 5x5 Roto leagues for this year. They change every year, so you need to know what your goals are when you're drafting. We also have some sleepers today, Henry Davis style, and I'm going to tell you one thing. Henry Davis is not included in our sleepers. And I'll tell you why it's Henry Davis style in just a moment. So, as you know, we just like to wait for the sound, and that's what we're doing right now. So, Leonard, you let me know when you get sound, and I'll just keep refreshing until I get it. The chat room is filling up, which we love. So, we just keep refreshing until we get some sound. And that's it. That's my intro. You can find Happy Hour Social Club on Twitch. I already told you that, but the sound looks good. Okay, sound is good. And here we go. Okay, welcome to everybody. This chat room is filling up, and we love to see it. Chris Gallo, Debbie Gallo, Data Premier, DK Luce, George Hubschman with the Roto Imbeciles, who always, without a doubt, is posting all of the new information when a trade gets made. George, we miss him dearly. We hope he'll come back on a regular basis, but we understand life gets in the way. King Hap, Happy Hour Social Club from last night with the Beantown Bad Boy and Taco. You can listen on demand to that. Leonard Donaldson, Laura, Mary, Lenny, Merrill. Where's your brother, Merrill? Bring him on board. SM King Turd, Tommy Johnson, Triple Play, and who else? Where's Captain Danny? Where's Boston Paul? Where's Malpal? I suppose these people will wake up soon and we'll get on with it. But for those of you who couldn't hear because the sound was not coming through the chat room yet, I need all of you to get your pens and pencils ready because today we are going to give you the category targets for each category in 5x5 Roto. And no on-base percentage is not included. We'll do that on a different day. We also have a great sleeper segment today, Henry Davis style, even though Henry Davis is not included in the sleepers, and I'll give you more about that in just a moment. But for now, let's go ahead and get started to tell you right from the Roto Imbeciles on Facebook group. He says a couple of Peraltas found homes today. You got Wandy, 4 years, $16 million to the Padres. Over the past 3 seasons, he spent 1/2 of a season with San Francisco and 2.5 with the Yankees. 2.96 ERA, 1.21 WHIP. 127 hits allowed and 141 strikeouts in 161 and a third innings pitched. He also walked 68 batters. George points out that the back of the Padres bullpen is crowded, but perhaps he could squeeze in a couple saves. We're talking 15-team or only leagues only on this guy. Of course, our resident insider, Malpal dude, chimed in because he's so annoyed. I feel the pain of Malpal, okay? They let Snell go. They let these guys go, and they didn't do anything to fix up their team. You got Wandy Peralta at the top of the bullpen, but for closers, they also just signed this Yuki Matsui, Woo Suk Go, Robert Suarez. All these guys could get saves, and now, of course, we have a crowded bullpen in San Diego. And also, Malpal points out, this is a terrible use of limited funds by the Padres. He has very limited upside, tremendous downside. Also points out that their freaking outfield, look at the depth charts. The Padres are just a nightmare when it comes to who's going to play outfield. They have Jose Azocar playing left field. Fernando Tatis, of course, playing center field. But then who's going to play right field? It looks like at the moment they're working with Oscar Mercado if Marcano is out. Tucapita Marcano. Maybe you say it Marcano, not sure, but he's out at the moment. The Padres addressing problems they don't have all the while. They have many, many other problems and holes, okay, in their roster right now. So, George Hubschman, great to see you. Thank you for posting that on Facebook. Another part from George Hubschman, he talks about Wiley Peralta, a lefty pitcher. Oh, wait, maybe he's not a lefty pitcher. Wandy Peralta is a lefty pitcher. Wiley is a righty, 34 years old, by the way. Signs a minor league deal with the Pirates, which, that means he could be up at any given times. He had 4 saves. He saved 14 games for Kansas City back in 2018. He was a 17-game winner and 32 games started for the Brewers all the way back in 2014. That was when he had a career-high 198 and 2/3 innings pitched with 154 strikeouts and 61 walks. 3.53 ERA and a 1.30 WHIP, but he last pitched in the majors in Detroit in 2022, so we'll see. He has been invited to spring training, so he will compete for a spot, but he absolutely has not pitched in the majors since 2022. Last year, he pitched at AAA Rochester. His ERA was over 6, okay? He did have that 2-year run with the Tigers in 2021 and 2022. But look, the guy is 34 years old, and I guess it's a good fit for him since the pitchers in Pittsburgh are never really good, so there is a chance for him to come up, but I'd say he's more of a bullpen guy than anything. Now, also on the news front, you have Corey Seager. Is Turd here? Hello, Turd. Let's talk about Corey Seager. Now, I know you love him. I absolutely love him. Corey Seager was excellent last year. And when I say excellent, I mean it. 327 batting average, 33 home runs, 2 stolen bases, 96 RBI, and 88 runs scored. Also, that 327 batting average grew 82 points from 2022. However, it's not that surprising since he hit over 300 in 2 other full seasons so far in his career. Also, Luis Arias and Corey Seager are the 2 qualified players in baseball with OBPs over 390, despite he walked 50 or less times last year. He would easily have had 100 plus runs as well as 100 RBIs had he not missed time because of a hamstring and thumb injury. So he returned from that thumb injury in early August, and he was on fire from that day on. He hit 17 more regular season homers as a warm-up for what he did in October, which we all know was excellent, okay? Took him all the way to the World Series and got him over the hump. Now, I know a lot of people are expecting 40 homers, 100 RBIs. If he's healthy, you can reasonably expect that. Now, he's going 18th overall ADP, and you got to question to yourself what the risks are here when you're drafting Corey Seager. And I know, King Turd, you need to get involved in this conversation. I don't see you in the chat room. Hopefully you aren't distracted by some work call. How dare those work people bother you during the podcast? However, Corey Seager had sports hernia surgery on Tuesday. A lot of people are wondering, could he see a slow start to this coming season due to his recovery from sports hernia surgery? He's not even expected to return till March 28th, which is right about the beginning of the season. But let's say he is healthy to start the season. Are the Texas Rangers going to ease him in slowly? Because they do have some other options, such as Ezekiel Duran, who could get extra playing time in the early season if, and I mean if, Seager is not ready to at full speed ahead. Now, even our resident Texas Rangers insider, King Turd, says it's too expensive for Seager. Let me give you a couple of guys that I'm targeting that are not super late in the draft, but excellent deals for their current ADP. Okay, one of them is Xander Bogaerts. Yes, he's going 115 overall ADP. That's about, it's got to be about round 10, right? We're talking round 10, round 11 for this guy. You can wait for him. There's 3 guys that I want you to target instead of drafting a shortstop or a second baseman in the early rounds. First off and foremost, the second base position has never been deeper. There are plenty, and I mean plenty, of second basemen, not just round 10, not just round 13, but you have guys going round 20 that are perfectly fine to roster in fantasy. Now, Xander Bogaerts didn't have a great year, but you say why? He had a .285 batting average, 19 home runs, 19 stolen bases, 83 runs, and 58 RBI. Well, he did hit 6 homers with a .914 OPS in his first month with the Padres. He also did great in the final month. He finished the season in September, with a 1.122 OPS, but it was all the months in the middle where he batted .244 with a .308 on-base percentage. It's still not just the bottom of the rung here, and he did finish off the season well. His ADP, 115, absolutely a steal at that price. Now, another guy whose ADP is 137, do not let the shortstop position be empty after these 3 guys that I'm telling you about are off the board. Do not wait until after these 3 guys are off the board, because the quality of the guys you're going to get after pick 145 is drop off big time. Now, the next guy on the list at ADP 137, it's my boy Dansby Swanson, 29-year-old Cubby. Now, just last year he signed a $177 million contract, and he didn't do great last year, which is exactly why his ADP is 137 at the moment. He batted .244, hit 22 homers, stole 9 bases, but the best part about this deal is his 80 RBIs and 81 runs, okay? He didn't finish the season good. His .744 OPS was his lowest mark since 2018, even though he still eclipsed 20 homers and 80 RBIs for the 3rd straight season. His 9 stolen bases were only half his total from 2022, and even though the rules changed to help out the steals guys, he was injured. Now, Dansby Swanson does not get injured very often. He had a heel issue, which is the first time he's missed more than 2 games in a season since 2019. He's elite at defense at shortstop. He led the league with 18 defensive runs saved, and while I know that doesn't matter to you, it keeps these guys solidly in the lineup, okay? Now, he does strike out quite a bit. 24.1%, but that was still an improvement of 2 points, okay, from the year before. So here's the thing. This guy is a safe and excellent deal at 137 ADP. You can expect at least what he did last year, and I'm saying you're going to get closer to what he did in 2022 than what he did last year because he's missed time with his heel injury. All right, now that's number 2 for shortstops later. Number 3 for a shortstop late, and do not keep your shortstop spot empty after Thairo Estrada is drafted. If you're sitting there without a shortstop and Thairo Estrada is the last guy on the board, you have to take him immediately. ADP 145. Last year, he finished the season 271 batting average, 14 home runs, 23 stolen bases, 49 RBIs, and 63 runs. Now, one of the reasons why Thairo Estrada does not get as many RBIs and runs as the other 2 guys I mentioned is because of his spot in the batting order, and that's why I'm always telling you to pay attention to where these guys are hitting. Not because it's going to hurt them, and Dansby is a perfect example of this because Dansby actually hit lower in the batting order, and I remember a couple years ago people telling me, oh, well, you said, he was hitting down at the bottom, so don't get him, and that was in 2022. Now, this is not an end-all, be-all rule. It's just if you have a choice between a couple dudes and one of them bats 8th and the other one bats 2nd, you take the dude that bats 2nd because chances are good he's going to score a lot more runs than the other guy. Now, good morning to Chris. Good morning to Anthony D.B. Miller. Good morning to Big L on the Prowl. Good morning to Rotorius. Good morning to Lisbeth, whoever you may be. Now, I'm glad to hear that King Turd said Corey Seager is too expensive because I know that out of anybody, King Turd loves this guy more than anybody. So just remember, if King Turd says he's too expensive, I'm with him. And I bet that we will see after that surgery news hit that his ADP will continue to go down. And there is a spot where you say to yourself, it's worth the risk. But first of all, you got these other 3 shortstops, Thairo Estrada, Dansby Swanson, and Xander Bogaerts, all going between pick 110 and 140, and do not let your shortstop stay open after that. Get your pens and pencils ready. Now, is Malpal here?
No.
Malpal's sleeping in today, but we have 25 other people here. So here's the deal. Get your pens out. It's time to talk about your category targets for 2024. These are the category targets that you want to fall in between for every category in 5x5 Roto, and we're starting with batting average. If you want to finish first in your league, you need to have a batting average of between... I didn't put just one number here. I gave you a small range of numbers. I did this between first and third where they finished in the categories on average, so you have a little bit of wiggle room here. Obviously, there is no specific target that you need, but these are going to help you win your league. So during your draft, do try to target these numbers for each category. You need a batting average between 263 and 270 to win your league. You need 1,015 to 1,050 runs scored. You need 290 to 315 home runs to win your league. You need 975 to 1,040 RBI to win your league. Am I going too fast? Do any of you have your pen and pencils out? Because this is important stuff. This might be the most important segment of the season right now. I'm trying to help you win your league. So get them out. Let's go. If you missed one, let me know. I will absolutely tell you again. So, RBIs, you need between 975 and 1,040. Stolen bases, you need between 180 and 220 stolen bases. For wins, you need 88 to 95 wins. Strikeouts, you need 1,345 to 1,470 strikeouts to win your league. Saves, you need between 80 and 90 saves. ERA, 3.45 to 3.70. WHIP, 1.15 to 1.20. There you go. Is anybody writing this down, or am I going to have to do this again? Nobody's talking about it. Eddie Heckman, great to see you. Tomorrow's Groundhog Day. The Groundhog Day ceremony we all know about in Western Pennsylvania. All right, so are you going? How does this relate to fantasy baseball? Eddie doesn't know. Anyway, happy February. Okay, just a couple weeks till pitchers and catchers. Also, I read today, which is a great little tidbit. Yesterday was the last day of the month with no baseball until November, which means these guys are going to be playing baseball, warming up, getting ready for spring training at the end of February, and from then it goes on, and we don't miss any final day of the month without baseball until next November. Good morning to George. Welcome aboard. It's so nice to see you and everybody in the chat room. So Laura, I know you're out there. I hope you wrote this down. You probably don't need it because you just crushed everybody. By the way, Laura crushed everybody. It was an amazing accomplishment last year. It was more than 12 teams in that league. Probably, I think it was 14 teams in that league. And I'll tell you what, she never one day spent in second place the whole season. She just came in the winner and ended the winner, and that's what we like to see. Now, here we go with Sleepers Henry Davis style, okay? Now, why do I call it that? Well, because Henry Davis was the little lovebird of the fantasy community as far as a sleeper goes, but now it's gotten to the point, right, where you say Henry Davis is not a good deal anymore. His ADP is all the way up to 278. He doesn't qualify at catcher. He only qualifies at utility to start the season. Not only that, but he is not guaranteed to be the number one catcher. The manager came out and said, we're talking general manager Ben Sherrington stated early in the offseason that the team still views Henry Davis as an option behind the plate. That does not mean that he is their starting catcher at all. He only played, let's see what we have here for Henry Davis. He played 2 games at catcher. Okay, that's it. So if you guys are drafting Henry Davis thinking that he's going to get catcher, he's going to qualify at catcher in the near future, that may or may not be true, but you're drafting him as an outfielder. You know your outfielder doesn't have room for this guy. Also, he does play some first base. Now, I'm not really sure where they're going to put him. He only played 59 games in 2022, and he did reach Pittsburgh by mid-June of 2023. His opening sample in the majors is not great. 27% strikeout rate, okay? Now, he only struck out low 20s and high teens in the minors, but you know how that goes. That doesn't really mean for sure that he's going to stop striking out 27% of the time. Now, the chances are good that he will ease in, start to feel more comfortable, and he'll stop, and his 27% strikeout rate will go down, but that is not a guaranteed. And again, this guy's ADP is 278. I am not recommending for anybody to draft this guy at his current ADP, especially since because of his strikeouts, he ended up the season last year with a 213 average, 7 home runs, and 3 stolen bases. Now, RotoWire is projecting Henry Davis for 17 homers and 11 stolen bases. That's if he plays all the time. But again, he is not useful as an outfielder. These numbers are not great as at the outfield position. So if he doesn't qualify at catcher immediately, then you're losing money on Henry Davis, and you might lose money on him anyway if you're drafting him at 278. So let's talk about a catcher that qualifies at catcher that's 27 years old, and he's not going to steal any bases, but his ADP is 480. Okay? Rene Pinto, 27-year-old catcher for the Tampa Bay Rays. RotoWire expects him to hit 257 with 14 home runs next year. And here's the best part about it. He is going to be the opening day catcher for the Tampa Bay Rays if they don't acquire another catcher. So as it stands now, with Christian Bethancourt and Francisco Mejia both out of the picture, Rene Pinto at 480 ADP. His batting average isn't going to kill you like Henry Davis. He already qualifies at catcher, and you can get him for $1 in auction leagues. You can draft him in the last round in snake drafts, and he should absolutely be on your radar so you can wait till the end for a catcher. Another guy we talk about, I did an NFBC draft the other night, $150 auction championship league. I learned quickly that I need to absolutely wait on pitching. My starting pitching could have been so much better had I just waited for guys like free agent Jordan Montgomery to be thrown out, because by the time he was thrown out, everybody was out of money. Not completely. I mean, he still went for like $15, but I would much rather have him than some of the guys I put on my team, like Corbin Burns for $32. What was I thinking? That was just stupid. I never spend more than $30 on a pitcher ever. I was thinking all these guys that I typically draft, like Luis Castillo and Zach Gallen, and there's quite a few of them that I was always able to get for in the mid-20s, and I was always able to build my team around low to mid $20 pitchers. Now, I was afraid that all of those guys are so good now, like Logan Webb is another one. You know he's not going for the low 20s like he did last year. You got Jordan Montgomery, and there are flaws here, right? But I'm going to put him in the same category as Sonny Gray, because these are two guys that no matter what, their fastball is below velocity on average, right? I jumbled that sentence, okay? Their average fastball velocity is lower than average. Do I think that's a below average trait? No, I don't. I think it's a good trait, because to me, it makes them so much more so much less injury prone. Now, Jordan Montgomery, 31, we don't know where he's going to sign. We do know that Sonny Gray signed with St. Louis, which pushed his ADP up immediately. We have Jordan Montgomery here going 156 overall. I will gladly take him, in my rotation, and he should be a target for everybody. He is not a number one pitcher, but this guy absolutely, and the reason why he's not a number one pitcher is because he doesn't strike out a whole ton of batters, right? But he still strikes out batters. Last year he finished 10-11 with a 3.20 ERA, a 1.19 whip, and 166 strikeouts. So yes, the one thing you're not getting out of this guy is the ton of strikeouts. So here's the deal though. Let's see. He doesn't walk batters. He doesn't allow home runs. He's made 94 starts over the past 3 seasons, which is tied for the 6th most in MLB. Now, the low strikeout rate is the reason you're getting him at such a deal. Round 15, people. Round 15. Between round 14 and 15. ADP 156. Let's go, okay? Sonny Gray, ADP 128. Finished last season 8-8 with the 2.79 ERA, 115 WHIP, 183 strikeouts. Gray was the runner-up for the American League Cy Young Award, okay, after posting a 2.69 ERA and a 115 WHIP. Anyway, he's always the same pitcher. He doesn't change. And again, his 92.9 mile an hour average fastball is below average. But to me, that doesn't mean it's bad. To me, it's good. I don't need a guy to go out there and throw 100 miles an hour every time, because every time he does that, he's just asking for surgery on his elbow. Now, Sonny Gray is 34 years old, but he signed with the Cardinals, and I still think, look, RotoWire has him ranked 85th overall. Why is his ADP 128? At this cost, Sonny Gray is a steal. Now, I had Dansby Swanson in the sleeper list, but we already talked about Dansby Swanson, okay, earlier when we talked about the shortstops. Now, as far as the sleepers, Henry Davis style goes, we have one more, and then we're going to call this podcast, and I think I definitely have some great information in this podcast. So it's not about the length of the podcast, but it's about the quality, okay? Because we gave you the category targets, which is so important. Everybody needs to have them, even if you don't follow them completely. It gives you a base to target. Now let's talk, is Boston Paul here yet? Maybe not. He seems to be ignoring me today. So anyway, this is for him. Henry Davis style sleeper. The reason that Joey Meneses is Henry Davis style sleeper is because Joey Meneses, along with Henry Davis, only qualifies at utility to start the season. The difference between these two guys, are you kidding me? Right. 356 ADP for Joey Meneses. We're talking 80 RBIs from this guy. You can't find 80 RBI guy in round 30 of your draft. Okay, we're talking Rene Pinto type ADP. However, this guy Joey Meneses, the reason he is not higher up in ADP is simply based on the fact that he qualifies at utility only. That doesn't mean he's going to play utility this year. And if you want to talk about somebody that is going to earn eligibility at a position early in the season, you can pretty much count on Joey Meneses, because currently he is listed as the number one starting first baseman for the Nationals. One of the reasons that he did not play first base at all last year is because he was playing through a knee injury, which nobody found out until after the season. He strikes out less than 20% of the time. He will always hit in the middle of the order, which means he's going to continuously get the RBIs, even if he only hits 13 homers, which was such a disappointment. His barrel rate was not that impressive. However, his hard hit rate is above average, and his average exit velocity is above average. The reason that he didn't hit very good barrels is probably because he was nursing an injury, but you can almost be sure and count on 20 home runs from this guy, but let's just say he doesn't do the homers. You're talking about a guy that's going to save your ass in batting average late in the draft. There are not that many people that can do this. That means if you go and draft Kyle Schwarber, like I did the other night, who's sitting below the Mendoza line in batting average, you draft Joey Meneses also, and you will have yourself a decent batting average with those two combined, because Joey Meneses is expected to hit 286 with 15 homers, 78 RBIs, 66 runs scored. Let's just pair this guy with your bad batting average that you did earlier in the draft, and there you go, because he's going to get full season of at-bats. He plays through injury, so don't worry about that. He is 32 this year. However, look at his ADP and tell me, 356, this is a guy that only qualifies at utility. a la Henry Davis, who is going to give you twice the production of Henry Davis, okay? Stop drafting Henry Davis. His ADP is not sleeper relevant anymore, even though I met his aunt at the airport and we had Bloody Marys and a great time. I don't know about that. All I know is that Henry Davis is a bad deal in fantasy, and that's what happens when everybody starts talking about a player as a sleeper. You got to update based on ADP, and that's it. Yes, Joey Meneses is only eligible at DH, but he will eventually, maybe pretty early, get eligibility at first base again. So, there you go. That's what I have, and that's all I got for today. I really appreciate all of you coming into the chat room today. Mythical King Turd Zelmo is here. I can't really scroll down that far, but Triple Play, Merrill, Mitchell, Lenny, Laura, Leonard Donaldson, King Hap, George Hubschman. We miss you, and we love you, George. Eddie Heckman, DK Luce, Data Premier, Chris Northrup, our wonderful resident insider for the Yankees, Big L on the prowl, Anthony D.B. Miller, and a cast of guests. You know, you can sign up for free. We don't send spam. We don't do that. You can catch us every day of the week, 9 a.m. here at LennyMilnickFantasySports.com/live. We have the best chat room in baseball, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Leonard will be back for Friday edition, and then we just start it all over. We'll catch you soon, everybody. Have a wonderful day.